one's my favourite already. Boy, that's around.
I can't even talk.
I feel a little bit sick, and not through fear or anything like that, just through smiling quite so much and my cheeks ache, and the noise is. I remember years ago, I'm an Essex boy, I had two 10-inch bandpass subs in the back of my Aston GTI, and the bass was so loud that it made you feel sick. And actually it was so loud at one point that my number plate fell off, and an old lady knocked on my window when I was at the lights, and she went, "I think this is yours." And I wound my window down and she gave it to me, and I don't know what sort of weird and wonderful music I was listening to, but it was just the noise of that bass was you know, was what I wanted at the time. The noise of this car is absolutely ridiculous, but it makes you feel alive. You don't have to go more than 40 miles an hour. As soon as you get it above 4,000 revs, it screams and shouts and burbles and pops and bangs and growls at you, and it is just addictive.
Well, I feel like I'm sitting right in the middle of this car, and I'm right on top of everything. So I'm on top of that steering, but I've got this short back, so I'm on top of the rear wheels as well, if that makes sense. And I feel like the steering, I feel like when I go around corners, instead of steering normally like this, I actually change my hand grip and actually push it into the steering wheel.
Yeah.
Because it's a bit heavier, and you feel like you've got to grab hold of this car.
It's firm.
Yeah. So you've got to grab it by the scruff of the neck and go.
Yeah, but the thing is, every single movement on that steering wheel is, I can feel it translated into the car so precisely, sitting in the passenger seat.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been in the panel. I'm going to be in a minute.
Well, you will be, yeah. And for a Grand Tourer, boy, does this feel like a sports car.
I think it's got so much feel-good factor as well. Like looking at that arch on the back and the spoiler.
Everywhere you look, it reminds you that you're in something
I do love
special.
Aston Martin, but special ones.
Well, I do now.
I know, yeah.
I do now.
When you said that the first time, I'm thinking, oh my god, because the Lancia obviously wasn't running, and I said I've got a backup car, and you said I don't like Aston Martin.
No, I didn't say I didn't like.
Said.
What I said was, in the category that they sit in, I would always go for, I don't know, a Turbo S, a 458 Scuderia. There's something that's a bit more punchy, sporty, aggressive, better racy looking, you know. But when you drove up in this and I saw it, and then I heard it, and then I drove it, I've never driven a car that made me feel so special. And I didn't even drive it like fast.
Well, I sent you that YouTube clip, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I said that's the best reviewer of cars. And if he says it's the one car you would have,
listen to that.
I know.
0-62 in 4.4 seconds. For the money you're spending on this, we'll never win a drag race. But I tell you what, no one will finish that drag race with a bigger smile on their face than you driving this.
And it just feels, the suspension actually is, I think, absolutely spot on for the road.
Yeah.
I can't fault it at the moment. It's got compliance, it's got a little bit of bump, but it's not stiff. You could drive this to a hotel again for an hour and feel absolutely fine. You got the boot. I think what I feel the big difference is from this to the Scuderia is how much more enclosed, and I feel more together. Whereas the Scuderia felt like a big open expanse. This feels like a shorter screen, and I'm sort of in a race car.
Compact.
Yeah, I feel like I want to go, and I want to get it going, and I want to get on the brakes, and the brakes feel lovely.
Super as well, aren't they? I can't wait to change hands. I mean, I love the M3. M3's great, but this is a crisper, noisier, firmer, dare I say it, better version. Just look at us. We got in this car, got in the Scuderia, you knew what to expect. You know, racy. You got in the M3, you knew what to expect. It's a brilliant all-round motor. We were both like children getting into this car.
I know, we couldn't wait to get in. I said, Dan, get those cameras. Get in.
I think that says
it all.
That says absolutely everything you need to know.
And I think for me, the whole thing with the cars was always to drive and enjoy them. And this is giving that pleasure all the time. So, again, steering wheel feels really good. It's a little bit thinner actually than the other ones, but it feels really nice. The steering is heavier, but very connected. So you're not moving the steering wheel much, but it's going straight away.
Yeah.
Whereas the M3 had a little bit of play, and so did the Scuderia. A little bit of play. This hasn't got much play, and it's gone.
Really precise.
So, I've got one thing I would say. This gear lever's too far back this way, so I feel like I'm a little bit stuck in here. And when you go to sport, when you rev it out, it over revs. If you go a bit higher than that, it over revs. So I've been driving it sometimes without sport on to stop that. So if I was being sort of critical, going, I know you could probably check, can't move this any, but that's about it. I think I love the interior with the carbon as well, all this in here.
Alcantara and the carbon and the little bit of leather trim just looks. See, look, there's 5 guys there, every single one of them are looking. You don't turn heads like that unless you're driving something special. And it makes you want to go, but actually you're not going nowhere near as fast as a Ferrari. Feels it, though.
But you feel like you're going, you know.
And this is my thing when you're talking about a road racer and the drivability of a car. It's the engagement that the driver's got with the car. This is complete.
Well, I think it's going to go down as one of the greatest ever road cars. Because it's got the manual. I think that we were looking at it earlier, and the styling coming from a race car. How many race cars are there than road cars with the body kit? Not many. Not many. You know, the 430 race car looks totally different to the Scuderia. This looks no different. You could put numbers on the side, like a race car. It'd look like a race car.
Yeah, go at Le Mans, job done.
Yeah. I think the good thing with this, what I wanted to sort of show everyone, is that I think everyone's got maybe the opinion that these are going to be hard riding cars that are actually quite difficult, but actually they're very easy.
As a big guy, I don't fit very comfortably in an awful lot of cars. You know, if you're 6 foot, fine, you're a big guy, but you fit in everything. I'm 6'5", and so I'm a little bit out there on the extreme. The Ferrari was superb to drive, but it wasn't a comfortable seated position for me. You know, I was compromised. In this, I feel like you've almost got that performance. It's so much more aggressive when it comes to the noise. You're more engaged with the manual gearbox, and I feel like I could drive it for hours.
Yeah. And feel sort of, and enjoy it all the time, like a bit like you said with the M3.
Yeah.
You feel like you're enjoying it all the time, whereas the Ferrari, you're enjoying it in very short windows.
Yeah.
Where you go bing 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 through the gearbox and you're going,
I feel like you need to. You couldn't really, unless you was on a track, you couldn't stay switched on for an hour in that Ferrari.
Yeah.
But this reminds you, every time you go above 4,000 revs, it reminds you you're in something aggressive. You know, there's no forgetting it.
So what about noise? Because a Ferrari it's a V8, it is a loud noise. This feels more like an engine noise.
I like the depth and the tone in this. The Ferrari sounds much nicer outside than it does inside. This sounds
amazing inside.
Awesome everywhere. It sounds awesome everywhere.
When you just accelerated there, when we done the clips and we just done the exhaust and the engine, we went, oh, it sounds amazing. And if you're outside, you go, oh, but this, you go, and if you put the sport on again, you're getting more noise, more. It's not a lot to say really, apart from if you ever have the opportunity to get one, you bite your hand off.
Get one or drive one. You're a madman if you don't. It's, yeah.
I'm looking forward to you go. Dean, don't stall it.
I'm not going to stall it, mate. I'm just going to enjoy it first. You know, the funny thing is, I just want to sit here. I don't even need to drive it. You know?
It feels that special, doesn't it?
I thought so highly of it the first time I drove it that I was worried that possibly this time round I would be disappointed, or maybe that I overdid it in my own mind.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Well, you didn't know the car was going to be there, did you?
No, I didn't know
the car was. So. I feel like I'm in like a V8 Le Mans racing car.
You kind of are.
Yeah. Because of the noise. And just how it feels so solid.
Every single millimetre on that steering wheel is transmitted straight through the whole car. It feels like we're literally just pivoting every single. I can't describe it. The steering's firm. The gear changes are a little bit heavy, maybe, but I kind of like that because
you want to feel involved, don't you?
Yeah.
That's it.
It's sort of chunky. Chunky is a good word. Yeah, because I think heavy is a criticism. It's not a criticism because it feels good, it feels right, it matches the whole car.
So suspension good again, engine's terrific. We know it's not hugely powerful compared to the competition.
It's not.
But you're using all of them.
Yes, and for a road racer, for a car that you can jump in, go out for an hour and a half, stick 30 quid in the tank. Might not do an hour and a half, to be fair, 30 quid. It's going back a few years, but use the car and get a lot from it. I feel like this is, you know, it's. I mean, what are we doing? We're doing the mile now. Yeah, and we're just on 3,500 revs.
Noise. It's the noise is making it feel quicker though.
Super quick.
So yeah, I know it's making it feel. If it's the same 0 to 60 as the M3. This feels like it's going quicker, but it must just be the noise.
Yeah, it is. So, yeah, 100% it's the noise. Yeah.
You just feel like you're in a racing car. That's how it feels. And the brakes feel great, don't they? There's no hesitancy. It feels like you need to press them, which is nice. That's what you want from a race car. You feel like you have to put that pressure on.
But the other thing is, I kind of feel like, as much as it's easy to drive, I feel like I'm working it with a firm suspension that is so responsive. I feel like I'm driving the car all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and this is what really stood out for the M3, which nowadays isn't powerful, or that particular M3, and it certainly isn't expensive. But what I got from that car was so much more than what it was worth. And this is just taking it to a whole new level. This is the up-to-date modern version of what that experience was like. I am totally engaged.
The whole thing.
Oh, I'm looking in the rearview mirror at everything that's disappearing behind me, and all I'm looking at is that massive carbon spoiler and those huge arches, and it enables me to see what I'm driving from the inside out almost.
It makes it feel special. Like the car feels special. Inside the car, you just feel like you're in a real special car. It would be interesting to get you in a standard Aston Martin as well at some point, just to see, but then it might ruin it because this is just obviously such a limited edition car, this one. But then you drive this one, do you?
You know, I don't know. It'd be like dumping Cindy Crawford for like Waynetta. I don't know. Not that they're ugly.
Well, there's not many of these. That's the thing. So it's not. You haven't got a lot of choice to be able to buy one of you. That's the thing.
This is. You know, this is. I said it the first time I drove it, and I'll say it now. Like it is really. It is the car that, out of all the cars I've driven my entire life, it gives me the most pleasure, and it makes me feel the most special.
That's so good. That feels, and I can feel that engine, and it just wants to go and go. It's just, I know, it just wants to rev.
I know, and you know, it feels so it literally feels so flat against the ground, and the handling is so precise, and I've got no fear of the back stepping out whatsoever. I don't know. I'm running out of good stuff to say, because I feel like
you just want to drive it now, don't you?
I feel like everyone watching this should literally just put this on your bucket list. Listen to that, and I'm sat behind an Audi A3 doing the speed limit.
Yeah.
You know?
So like the YouTube clip I sent you, he said on there this was the car, and I think it is the car that if you won the lottery, or you had that dream of one car and you wanted the most analog, good looking supercar, so it's not a hypercar, a supercar, this would be the one you'd buy yourself as a present.
It's a bold statement. It's a bold statement, and I think that when you look at the car from the outside, you kind of understand what he's talking about, because it's, you know, it's a really aggressive looking, cool Aston Martin. But when you drive one, and we ain't even going that fast. You know, when you drive one, you get it.
I mean, I'm hardly ever a passenger in a car, and I feel like exhilarated in the passenger seat. Like, wow.
And I bet you everyone that's standing on the corner that we're driving past feels that as well.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it is. It looks awesome from the outside. It smells great for some reason. Maybe it smells great because it looks and sounds great, and all my senses are kicked in. But yeah, put on a track or even on the road with a route, the Ferrari will absolutely crucify this. But I would not purchase the Ferrari over this.
No.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
See
the size
later
of your grin. Well, you own it.
Well, I know because I haven't been in the passenger seat. So to have that feeling now of being in the passenger seat and thinking, oh wow, you know, I want to just take people for a drive now. Especially our little nephews.
Oh,
no wonder they were smiling the other day when I picked them up from school in this. God.
It's not like I would say the speed of this is. It's harder to handle because you've got the gear changes, the manual gearbox, and it's so aggressive when you're accelerating. It's actually a little bit more hard work.
It doesn't
than the
feel
Ferrari.
that much slower than the Ferrari.
No, it doesn't.
And we've got to remember that the Ferrari is getting the 0 to 60 because of the gear change as well. So that might be 0.4 of a second.
Yeah.
So 3.6, maybe 4, then you're 4. I feel like it's geared quite nicely for the road as well. We've still got one more to go though. We can't make a decision yet.
No, and the one to go has been a poster car for me forever. And you know they say don't meet your heroes because you're only ever disappointed. Well,
you're going to meet it, aren't you? You're going to have to do it today.
Yeah, but
I think you'll be very surprised with the Murcielago. But that's going to be interesting. So the other thing is just feeling so connected, even as a passenger, through the chassis.
You can feel what I'm feeling as a driver. That's what I meant when I first got in it, and you started trying to warm the tyres up. You know, I was like, I feel like I'm driving it.
Yeah.
The whole car moves, and everything in it does the same thing.
But I haven't had that in the past too. I didn't have that in the Ferrari. I felt like I am a passenger. Yeah. I didn't have that in the M3, but in this, I feel like I'm with you. And we're going round the corners. It's accelerating.
I don't know where these roads go, but I don't want them to end.
No, it's lovely roads through here.
Yeah, mate, it is just.
And just like we said about just being able to do this at nice speeds, we're not even breaking the speed limit, we're just going nicely through and you're just flowing. And you're going through the gearbox.
Yeah, exactly. And just that small gear change for no reason other than just, I'm just going to drop it down a little bit.
But when I first got it, she goes, this is my wife, why do you keep buying the paper? We were in lockdown. I said, well, I'm just going to go down the road and get a paper. I was going down here. I was coming round here, going all the way around. She's going 45 minutes. I said, well, it's a lot of traffic out. He said, but we're locked down. There shouldn't be any traffic. I said, oh well. And that's how it feels. You drive it now and you'll think half an hour later, I think I might go for another drive.
And time, I bet, flies in this thing.
Yeah, because it's so easy. You can just do so many. Whereas I said to you, you said about the Ferrari, go for a drive for an hour. I'd never go for an hour.
No.
I would go 20, 25 miles, bring it back.
Yeah.
This, I drive and then I go a bit further.
One more lap.
Yeah, I think I'll go a bit further because it's engaging you all the time.
Like this is, when you put your foot down in that Ferrari, it's literally point, shoot, squirt, bosh, bosh, bosh,
A lot
right?
of rattle, a lot
yeah,
of...
but with this, you're like, go on, son, bang,
Yeah, I know.
bang, bang, precise, like not clunky, that's the wrong word, but
Yeah. It feels mechanical with the gear change. You know, you're feeling all them parts working together.
yeah.
I mean, when you accelerated up there, I felt like I'm at Goodwood, at the revival, hearing a V8, American V8.
Oh, and you know I love a muscle car.
And that's why you get that noise. And it's got a nice bit of torque, hasn't it? Even in any gear.
And the low revs, it still pulls, but the thing is, you've got that crescendo.
Yeah.
It's what a great word that is. Almost sounds as nice as this. What an amazing moment going through that Spinney, all those trees and just that
light coming through.
Well, I tell you what, the Murcielago LP670 SV has got a hell of a reputation, but it had half got to go some, mate.
We're going to see now. Right, Dean, so that's the end of the drive in the GT8. So, road racers, where does it sit for you now?
Well, after the point and squirt of the Ferrari, I felt like I needed a bit of a break, and I actually felt like there was nothing else I could do on the roads with it. It was like, poof, there, I'm at a corner, got to slow down, traffic.
Yeah.
With this one, I just wanted the roads to keep going, and one gear led to another, and the gear you was in was better than the previous one, and you know the next one's better than the one you're in, and you just want to keep going. It's not the fastest, and there's lots of things it lacks on paper, but sometimes what you see in black and white just doesn't cut the mustard, and this is a phenomenal motor, mate. And I drove it the first time and I was taken aback a little bit, and the second time I've driven it, which is now, it has absolutely taken me by storm again.
It's just one of the greatest cars ever made. Ever made, and there's only 150, and that also makes it very special.
It's the best car I've driven, and it's the car that makes me feel $1 million. You know, and that, you know, if you're paying that money, 0 to 62 and top speed are big things, but you've also got to like we were just giggling.
I know,
man.
yeah.
Just giggling to ourselves, like, listen to this, listen to that. And some of the speeds were ridiculous, like 50 mile an hour, but you
hear that burbling on the back of the exhaust.
Yeah, no, mate,
it's up there. We've got to make the verdict later.
I love it. I like it a lot.